Weeks ago, our next speaker was marked quite rightly as our culture spokesman, here to give a tribute to Her Majesty the Queen. I am now delighted to introduce him both as our culture spokesman and our London mayoral candidate for 2016. Here to give a tribute to Her Majesty the Queen, Mr. Peter Whittle.
Me again. Ladies and gentlemen, 10 years ago, there was a week in July when London experienced both triumph and disaster. It started with rejoicing when it was announced that the capital had won the Olympic Games. This changed to tragedy with the terrible 7/7 bombings of the London transport system, which left 50 people dead. But at the end of that week, there was another national event, and that was the 60th anniversary of VE Day. There was a moving parade in London, poppies showered down from the sky, and the crowds packed them out. The parade was led down to Buckingham Palace by the Queen, who stood in an open-top car. Now, this event, a commemoration of one of the most important dates in our history, had taken on an extra dimension in the light of what had happened that week. But it also served to illustrate one of the great strengths of constitutional monarchy. The Prime Minister at the time, Tony Blair, was a divisive figure. After 7/7, it would have struck most of us as odd or awkward to have looked to him to have been some kind of rallying point. But we could go and cheer our monarch, and indeed in that week to make a gesture of national solidarity, in the knowledge that we were not also expressing support for one particular course of political action. So the symbolic and practical importance of this division between the head of state and the head of government can never be underestimated. And as we celebrate what is now the longest reign in British history, the longest in 1,000 years of the monarchy, it is clear to us as never before that the Queen has been a brilliant head of state. With her 90th birthday on the horizon, and talk of a platinum jubilee seeming less and less implausible with each passing year, the Queen has taken on what could only be described as a kind of historical quality. As she opens Parliament or stands before the cenotaph for the 60th time, she appears as permanent as those edifices, embodying in flesh and blood the history and traditions that they represent in stone. She is the living, breathing symbol of our national story. Now, attributes which were once satirized, her voice, her manner, the wave, the style which seems immune to fashion, they are now accepted as illustrations, as symbols of an unchanging and unperturbable quality which most people not only accept about her, but actively appreciate. It is in fact the gnashings and the wailings of the Diana years which today appears slightly odd to us, alien and even faintly embarrassing. Now, when in July the Sun published pictures of the Queen as a child giving a Nazi salute, apparently under the supervision of her uncle, the Prince of Wales, the most striking aspect of it all was the response. Outrage was directed not at the Queen but at the paper, and it came from all sides. The unfairness and opportunism of it confirmed Sun haters in their contempt for the paper, while others pointed to the long-standing republicanism of Rupert Murdoch as the main motivation. But if it had not been dismissed so quickly, it might have seriously impaired these month's celebrations. But the fact that it did not is evidence of the universal regard in which Elizabeth II is now held. Her popularity today is back to the same level it was that she enjoyed at her accession in 1952. Then she was adored, revered, in fact, as some sort of quasi-mythical figure, the youthful symbol of a new Elizabethan age. But the respect that she is accorded now is based on something quite different. It has been earned and attaches solely to her. For during the intervening 63 years, habitual deference as a characteristic in British society has completely disappeared. The point or otherwise of the monarchy as an institution is more openly weighed up. The Britain-hating left, and we see a lot of those these days, oppose it in the same way they despise patriotism. On the right, the purist free marketeer ideologues dislike anything which cannot be bought and sold. And indeed, like Victoria, Elizabeth II has endured periods, most notably during the 1990s, when republicanism appeared to enjoy a short lease of life. But despite all this, support for the institution of the monarchy remains remarkably steady. Opinion polls always put it at around 75%. Republicanism never really rises above 18%. And the fact that the monarchy enjoys such great public support in such a transformed landscape is partly down to the position it holds within our strange British psyche. It is partly down too to a sense that anything deemed organically of this nation must be held on to when so much appears to be going. But of course, it is also down to her. She has never deviated from her vow, made as Princess of Wales at the age of 21, to dedicate her life to the service of this country and to the Commonwealth. Unlike Victoria, she has always been the most visible of monarchs. She once said herself, "I have to be seen to be believed." She is the global face of Great Britain. The Foreign Office would perhaps call her the greatest weapon in their armoury of soft power. Or, as the current political elite would undoubtedly phrase it, she is the strongest exponent of brand Britain. But I think our own leader put it best this week when he said that she is the greatest ambassador this country has ever had. For much of the world, she is not just Queen of the United Kingdom, but simply the Queen. Any of us who've travelled will know this to be true. Most people would scarcely know the name in other countries of our Prime Minister, but they always want to know about the Queen or her son or grandson. She's the most widely travelled of monarchs. And her obvious devotion to the Commonwealth has kept that institution alive in the face of indifference from successive governments. The fact that its role is now discussed with renewed interest in political circles, that it is once again being taken seriously as a possible part of Britain's future, must be very gratifying to her. Keeping it alive must surely count as one of her greatest personal achievements. So really, she has set the template for what a modern constitutional monarchy should be. Her unifying function, the one I referred to at the beginning, is of course purely symbolic. But the power of symbols over time is arguably hugely much greater than 100 changes of government. No symbol, as well, is as powerful as the monarchy. In a way unforeseeable to her succession, this function is arguably becoming more, not less important as the 21st century goes on and Britain faces increasing social, economic and demographic division. Her Diamond Jubilee in 2012 was celebrated with thousands of street parties up and down the country. Nobody was forced to do that. It happened because people genuinely wanted to celebrate her place at the centre of our national life. So, we sincerely hope that she will be the reason that the country comes together once again when in 2022 she will be celebrating 70 years on the throne. The saying goes that you don't know what you've lost until it's gone. And justifying the monarchy on similar grounds has always proved a disadvantage for its defenders. But by her longevity and her example, Elizabeth II has removed the need for such retrospective evaluation. Long may she continue to reign. And I think we really should end on a proper note, traditional note. So, 3 cheers for Her Majesty the Queen. Hip hip. Hooray! Hip hip. Hooray! Hip hip. Hooray! Thank you.